And this is what he had to say.
Daniel, thank you so much for the time. Congratulations on this one. Certainly one that is warranted not just locally, but certainly globally as well. Let's talk about just the desire and the need to do this. What was your thinking in trying to find this test kit so rapidly as well, and how it came about?
Well, I have to say that, Cape Bio was a project at the CSIR. It was sponsored by the Department of Science and Technology then. We launched the company, 3 years after the research started. We launched that in 2018 as a private entity. And we have been in the market since then, supplying some of the, sort of reagent components, including those that are used in PCR. We are distributing this in the US and locally. And we develop these products as separate sort of components. But when we took note of the pandemic, we then decided to now put our technologies together. These are technologies that are produced locally. Some of the core ingredients of these technologies are sort of produced by our company locally. So yeah. This comes from our own capabilities as a company.
Yeah. So I suppose the big question for many is it ready for immediate use?
No, maybe to also clarify that this type of kits are used only in the pathology laboratory setting. They are not for, not to be used basically at home. They are not part of the point of care diagnostics that we have in the market. They have to be used by highly qualified people in the pathology laboratories, both private and public. So these products have to go through some regulatory framework that we follow from the government. So we're still doing that validation so that we can launch them around June. Yeah. So they are not ready. We have to follow the due procedures.
Yeah, in an era where sickness, ailments, and some kind of viruses and the like sort of make their way around, the question becomes whether we can be able to find a way to test for a varying amount of these. Does this test perhaps offer a little bit more of a solution based for testing not just COVID-19, but certainly a whole lot of other viruses as well?
Definitely. I think as a company, when we started, we sort of wanted to produce these enzymes and reagents and kits as products for research purposes only. But it's only a change of regulatory framework that one has to follow in order for them to be used now for various diagnostic purposes. Obviously, we have to comply with the standards that are set by our government. So, yeah, definitely in future we'll have more products coming out of this technology.
New kits being developed by our very own people like Boitumelo no Daniel bahlanganisa kanjalo with this new kit, but it also leaves ukuthi sicabange kancane ukuthi, of course, at what point and what stage do we start looking at of the impact and jobasho ukuthi it's not a kit ezosetshenziswa endlini, but a kit that is going to be utilized by high qualified people. And I think that's when then it's beautiful and important for us ukuthi sikhulume kancane nosis, of course, Dr. Boitumelo Semete-Makoktlela from the South African Health Products Regulatory Authority. So just give us perspective on this conversation. Doctor, welcome to Daily Teta.
Good day. I hope you all are well and safe.
No, we are, Doctor, and we hope you are too. Doctor, let's just get into this conversation and try to understand, of course. We've just seen a video that showcases umsebenzi Daniel and not Dineo in terms of this new kit. What is the role of this new kit according to you guys?
This kit is quite important. I mean, as Daniel has said, this is a PCR test that is generally conducted for research purposes and many other purposes. What they're now doing is they are tailoring it for applications within COVID. And I must say that for a local industry, we really commend this team for doing this, because we do need to ensure that we've got the local capacity to manufacture these diagnostic tests. As he rightly said, these are tests that are conducted in the lab. So, healthcare professionals will collect the swabs and send the swabs to the labs, and the test will be collected. And these are the tests that are currently taking place in the country. Yeah. There's another set of tests that it's quite important during this time. But again, it's important that we contextualize when those tests will be used and how they can be used. So these are called serological tests. So these are tests that detect whether you have been exposed to the virus or not. So it doesn't tell you that you've got an acute infection at the moment. What it will tell you is that you've been exposed and your body has developed an immunity against this virus, or has strengthened your immune system. And so these tests are serological tests. And again, similarly, you can only conduct these tests in the presence of a healthcare practitioner. So those will become important when we need to do surveys of our South African population to see what's the extent of exposure that we had to the virus. Lastly, I want to say, he mentioned a good point about regulation.
Dr. Boitumelo, sorry to come in there. My sincerest apologies. Before you move on to the regulatory side of things, I mean, I'm hearing you talking about another now. It sounds to me as the ordinary person, have you been exposed to this virus? Are these not too many tests for a population that is already undereducated about testing?
No, not at all. I mean, we've even had media reports of people saying these tests are available in the market. Yeah. And we're saying as a regulator, we have not registered a single test. It's only now in this week that we're making strides towards registering these tests.
Yes.
So these second set of tests are that not everyone would be able to have their swab collected and their swabs being sent to the labs.
Yes.
Right. So you know that we're not able to test the numbers that the president would want us to test and the health minister.
Yes.
So these would become important when we need to screen the population. They're typically a lot cheaper and a lot quicker.
Oh, okay.
However, I must stress, these must be done under the supervision of a healthcare practitioner.
Okay. So they come in almost like a secondary support, because I can assume when we start to relax the lockdown, the criteria of screening becomes a bit more wider. So is this now the strategic way in which you guys want to tackle that?
Exactly, you put it very well. So this is so that as the lockdown is being lifted, we need to get a sense of how many people in the population have been exposed. As you remember, Mutu can get the virus and then present the symptoms. Or the symptoms are so light that you take some flu medication and overshout. So again, it presents in very different ways. But we need to, at some point as a country, know what's the extent of exposure. But these tests are not for one to be clinically diagnosed. They are for screening, and once we roll these out, there will be a clear communication about those.
I mean, we know that industry in our bodies that govern and help assist in regulation. What body looks at it, and how long does it take, for them to be able to process someone who's proposing a kit and
Yeah, so and in that case, the regulator is ourselves as the South African Health Product Regulatory Authority. And what we do is we've expedited our processes for this period, COVID, because we understand the urgency and the need for us to have these products in the market. So for the PCR tests that Daniel and the team and others are developing, the time frame is about 7 to 10 days. Similarly, also for these other serological. The challenge is that sometimes these companies don't have the information that we require. So there's a lot of back and forth that delays the process, but we are expediting this.
So this is for just taking time to come and just chat with us and when it comes to understanding our kids, Amasha, and the possibility